Hello and welcome back to Gospel First. And today we're going to be focusing on 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 to 8 and verse 13. Now, what if you could do everything right? Say the right things, know the scriptures, serve others, and still miss what matters most? Well, Paul says that's possible. And what he reveals next might be the most important truth of all. Let's find out what that truth is, shall we? In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, Paul builds to a defining moment. After talking about gifts, purpose, and unity, he brings everything back to one central truth. He says, "If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have charity," or in other words, love, "I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal." That's in verse 1 of chapter 13. So let's make this simple and clear. Gifts without love are empty. Knowledge without love is incomplete. Action without love has no lasting value. You can do all the right things and still miss what matters most. Then Paul defines what love actually looks like. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. That's in verse 4. Now think about this for a moment. What if you replace the word love with Christ? Christ is patient. Christ is kind. Christ is not proud. And this isn't just a description of love, it's a picture of Jesus Christ. I remember a time when someone treated me with kindness, when I knew I didn't deserve it. I was expecting correction, maybe even distance, but instead, they were patient. They listened. They stayed with me. And that moment never left me. Not because it stood out, but because it reflected Christ. That's what real love does. It doesn't just correct you, it restores you. Next, Paul closes this section with two powerful truths. Love never fails. That's from verse 8. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That's in verse 13. So what's the principle here? Everything else fades. Success fades. Recognition fades. Even knowledge fades. But love remains. Now think about your life over time. What do people actually remember? It's not your achievements, not your accomplishments. They remember how you treated them. And that's the impact of love. So in closing, think about a child who gets hurt. It's crying, is overwhelmed. But over time, the wound heals. That's what Christ does in our life. Now we carry wounds, mistakes, regrets, and through his love, he doesn't just cover them, he heals them. So here's my invitation for you to think about. Are you trying to live a good life or a life filled with Christ's love? Because only one of those never fails. Well, that's it for another week. Thank you for staying faithful to the journey. May the Spirit continue to fill your heart and draw you closer to Jesus Christ. If your heart feels even a gentle nudge, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share so that we can spread the gospel of Jesus Christ together. And I'll see you next time as we continue our studies in the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 14, where we'll talk about the gifts that build. Until then, God bless.